So Board Bill 167 is a board bill I'm really excited about, and it would amend the Clean Air Act, just one section of it where there's an exemption for the convention center. Most of the language on Board Bill 167 is, again, coming from Ordinance 68481. Majority of the changes that we are mainly changing in this ordinance is on page 2 and continues on page 3, starting in the middle at line 8, where it talks about the convention center as defined in this ordinance. And what we're doing is, in the previous ordinance, it had a convention center not allowed to be able to partake in smoking as various other locations. And what we're asking and attempting to do with this is to exempt out the convention center. So a really cool opportunity at least came to my front desk a few weeks ago, or about a few months ago now. Apparently this has been something that kind of has been in the works for a while, but we couldn't get it there. But an opportunity to bring a convention to the convention center that I think would be something that St. Louis would really benefit from. Bringing a cigar convention to the St. Louis region. This convention is only able to be hosted in a few cities due to some regulations that other cities have. Again, this has been kind of in the works for a very long time, and we feel really hopeful that this convention would come to St. Louis if we can make kind of this exception.
We do support this bill, and we encourage your support because of the unique nature of this one particular event. And as Alderman Aldridge has mentioned, this has a huge economic impact. As conventions go, this is a big one. It would sustain over 2,000 jobs while they're here, and the direct economic impact and the tax revenue to the city would be significant. We would, as an employer, we would not require anyone to work the event. So this would only be an event that you would volunteer to work for. This is not an effort to allow smoking at all conventions or meetings. We don't see a cigar lounge at future conventions. This is just simply an opportunity for St. Louis to compete and win for a piece of business that won't otherwise come here.
So for folks that may not want to be there because they're a fan of smoking, or maybe they have asthma or any health conditions, this wouldn't be like a forced convention that they would have to work. There'll be an option for employees to say, no, I don't want to work these for whatever reason it is to them. So it will be an opt-in or opt-out option, if I'm correct.
And is that in the actual ordinance?
No, because we didn't. This is just to put a limitation on or exempt the convention center from the Clean Air Act. We didn't put the opt-in, opt-out in there. If that makes you feel comfortable, we could, but we didn't want to, I guess.
And I did want to mention, I believe that section is actually in the text, page 4, line 3. So we did make sure that we put that in the bill, because I do know that that's really important for folks to know that that's going to be a priority. So I wanted to let you know that was there.
I just, since I appear to be the lone no vote on the committee this morning, I just, for my 2 cents, and Alderman, you and I chatted very briefly about this on Friday, but also is probably the only person on the committee that was here when we passed the Smoke-Free Air Act. It was probably one of the most contentious debates that we've had down here at the Board of Aldermen. I'd rank it in probably my top 5 in terms of just the length of time that measure was debated. I want to say we were on the floor for probably 5 hours that day on this singular topic. And it is a grave public health concern. I think many of you know my mother passed from lung cancer. It's something that I've always, I think my mom used to joke that my first words were stop smoking. And I certainly, during the time that we were debating the Smoke-Free St. Louis measure, was a very vocal advocate for it. One of my concerns with this that I've spoken with the CDC folks and the attorney about is just the slippery slope that this opens the door for other folks that wanted to be exempted from the law when we were going through this, back in 2010 or so. A couple years ago, we ended up moving forward with another legislative action related to incentive reform that essentially created the development scorecards that we see before this committee very regularly. With the new federal administration, the President's office and myself had conversations around wanting to ensure that we codify what is known as the EJI, the Economic Justice Index, into that evaluation scorecard. The scorecard that's administered by SLDC, and we do have representatives from SLDC here today, essentially the legislation provides for a baseline of what's required in that scorecard and the process associated for that scorecard in terms of the communication, the application, the engagement with community groups and partners, and making sure that we have a little bit more of an open and transparent process related to that.
Good projects pass the scorecard, bad projects fail the scorecard. So the scorecard is not the issue, and we are in favor of this board bill to solidify the scorecard. So
I would agree that the scorecard is not the issue. I think the issue is this political body that's not following the scorecard. That projects score on the scorecard, but then don't actually make it in the form of a board bill because they're shot down behind closed doors with extra demands that are being made through a political process. When we have situations where the developer gets enough points on the scorecard and then they're told they need to do extra things behind closed doors, it undermines that predictability and it gets political. And my concern is that by bringing this in front of the board, we're just making it more political every time we have to update the scorecard. And this isn't me making up scenarios. You asked for specific examples. I want to give you specific examples. So this happened already with Board Bill 197 in the 2023-2024 session. That was the bill for the Midas Hotel at Jefferson and Market. That piece of land is still empty right now after the bill failed in committee, and then the developer and the president met behind closed doors and worked out a deal that wasn't reflected in the board bill language, and then it was reconsidered in committee and passed. So my question is, why should we put more definitions and more requirements around incentives if we aren't following that scorecard anyway? And after we add that, and after we approve the scorecard when it comes in front of us, does that mean that we're all going to vote yes if a project scores on the scorecard? Can we even say that every member of this committee can commit to that, or every member of this?
But, you know, for the public, and this is public knowledge, it's record, you know, on the record, they can go and look it up. My bill was the bill that without any conversation with me, some conversations went on about my bill that literally cut me out of the deal altogether. And that happened. That's a fact. And so it is upsetting to see anyone make the situation sound as if there's a personal problem because another alder raises an issue that actually occurred, you know. And so I just want to make sure that I am sounding off on this. And like I said, it is upsetting to hear. I respect Alderman Browning and my fellow alders tremendously, but let's tell the truth about a situation, because if we don't do that, then we are also practicing in not giving full information to the public that we do serve.